Welcome back to another episode of Heavy Rotation, a tribute to Cleveland metal and beyond. We're still here in Cleveland with Cleveland artists, but we are going to go beyond a bit outside of the genre of metal. We have Dom from VINTERGRAV in the studio. He's going to be playing a couple tunes for us, some newly released material, some unreleased material. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to him, and gonna hear some tunes right now.
There we go. All right, thanks, Bet. I am Dom from VINTERGRAV, and this is Drag Me to Hell. Call me a martyr, call me a snake. Round up your allies and start up the race. Don't want nobody, a needless chase. Games of cat and mouse keep you up at night. Signal the alarm, another fight. The coward's journey to the other side. You can drag me to hell. I can show you the way. Because this fire's my companion, and it gets me through darkened days. Fire inside and it's just time to get out. Hypnotic delusions, no shadow, no doubt. Don't test the waters, they're as deep as the sea. Judges are calling, jury's in. All rise, pay attention, time's wearing thin. Tearing down the walls from deep within. You can drag me to hell. I can show you the way. Because this fire's my companion, and it gets me through darkened days.
Drag Me to Hell. And I was going to save this one for last, but I did change my mind on the way over here. This is the unreleased song. This is the opening track to my new record, Nocturne, and it is called Hell's Heroes.
Fool once said, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Death has no mercy for the ones who have bled. A liar is a poet to a foe that is dumb. Man with a purpose is a loaded gun. If I were a betting man, I'd bet it all on black, 'cause the darkness was always the destined path. By hell or high water, these boots they will stay, and by this oath of the road I decay. Brought on by hatred, surrounded by life. Hell has its heroes and they ride by my side. Strength of the woodlands, forged by hell's flames. A world with an ending foretold through death's days. Our past will reveal the days of our lives. What is all in front of us will live and die. If death is the tax, then death will pay due. For mercy is given to the tried and true. Glorious torment, blissful descent, bound by shadows near, their cries they smell fear. Embrace the dark light and welcome the respite. By dark
darkness you corrode it, remove to take you home. And that's Hell's Heroes. And then I'm going to close this one off for anybody catching in late if they wanted to watch it. This is one of my longest standing songs that continues with me. This is Cathedral of the Gods from Forest Hymns, and sang at a baritone. Oh, yeah. Why am I holding a pick, right? I recorded this without a pick. The magic of the land, the breathing of the trees. I hear the forest coming, an ancient sorcery. Whispers of the elements, a language known but lost. The heartbeat of these woodlands, from the roots into the bark, a source of spiritual healing, the cathedral of the gods. Living, breathing life form. Whoa, the cathedral of the gods. Ancient alchemy, woodland sorcery, an endless well of life. Ooh, from day until the night. A source of spiritual healing, the cathedral of the gods. A living, breathing life form. Whoa.
cathedral of the cathedral of the cathedral of the gods.
Thank you. Cathedral of the Gods.
Well, that was awesome, and that was the first time that we're having live music, live performance in the studio on this show, particularly. So, very thankful for that.
Thank you for having me, man.
Very thankful for that, brother. And I got both of our mics on now,
Sweet.
and
yeah.
we can just segue right into this interview. Where let's do this studio view.
Yeah. I want to
man.
thank you for bringing me on. It's been a long time since I've been able to play in a studio just for fun with an acoustic, and it was I miss these experiences. These are the ones that I like really, really love.
Well, thank you, man, and it's just a perfect opportunity to do this. Obviously the aesthetic of this show is to highlight heavy music, be it whatever flavor that is, death metal, thrash metal, hardcore. I've had like some bands like Attacks came on here where, they might have a bit of like a power metal or like older vibe, but you've played your fair share of metal as well. And then this music, even though it is acoustic, it's I know you described it as gothic folk. I mean, I could certainly hear those songs could be arranged to be metal songs for sure. They have a dark vibe to them. So certainly, but we don't need to justify it. I'm just happy. I'm just happy that you're here.
If it makes you feel any better, the way that I write, when I first started VINTERGRAV, it was actually a really funny story. Because I started it in tandem to working on burial oath stuff, and it was a lot of stuff that wasn't usable in the sense, but I could arrange the chord progressions and the notes to my liking and release it under a new moniker. So I've always kind of had, and I think that's why I've always just left my logo, because it looks like I'm a black metal band, but I've always at this point I'm committing to it because it works, because it gives me free range to be what I want. But I genuinely make a joke and say before I released this record, I made a joke. I was like, I'm acoustic black metal if you don't think of forest hymns, because it's just all these little arpeggio notes and me playing leads inside just instrumental music. I was like, if you listen to these records, you could turn these into a frostbitten black metal record. And just I'm okay with that. So I had Christoph, who designed Emperor's logo, actually designed my logo. So there is a lot of intersection there. So it is funny. So I do allow the correlation to happen because it works. I'm a metalhead, but I'm also the same guy who'll go and listen to a hardcore record for 2 hours. So it's just I don't really hide my influences, and I don't really hide who I'm trying to be as a musician in that regard. So ask away, man. Talk about it. You're going to be surprised about all my interests.
Yeah. Well, being that you said, you're also in a lot of hardcore, when you were what was the first musical projects you had? Were you in some, punk or hardcore bands when you were, kind of finding your footing as a musician?
So I have ritually always played in as many genres I can get my hands on. I genuinely enjoy the aspect that each genre has to offer me, so that I don't really limit myself to one genre. You know, one day I could be listening to classical, and then the next I could be listening to like a pop punk record, and then it'll be atmospheric black metal for 3 months, and then for 1 month I'll be obsessed with nothing but straight edge hardcore. It's like whatever my brain wants at that time I listen to. But to answer your question, my first band was actually, I believe it was a metalcore band. I started with my buddies. I can't remember all their names, but my best friend Alex and Chet were in that, and we were in a band that ended up becoming a band called For Mercy You Plead, and then we changed our name like 4 times, and it was just like a show the entire time. And it was a blast because I played metalcore for years with my buddies, and like we were big like Frail Worlds, Collapse, As I Lay Dying fans, and like Killswitch Engage is my favorite band, and that was all my buddies' favorite bands. So like we just really gelled well, and I stuck with metalcore for a long time. It was fun. I didn't feel a lot of pressure as a musician to have to like overperform to fit in, and it was like a good segue for me to get better as a musician while also being accepted to play that music with other people. So I've always just dabbled in whatever. I would say I'm primarily like a metal guy, but like I don't look it and I don't act it. So I don't know. I get sonic experience from music of all forms. So like for me, I'm music first, lyrics last. Like I never listen to lyrics first, which would shock people when I write lyrics, because like I want to know how the song feels first. I want to know how the music feels first before I want to dig into what it means. And that's just how I approach music. But yeah, it was metalcore, and then it moved into like pop punk. Played in a beatdown band for a while. I did a lot of like sing-songy songwriter stuff when I was a teenager. I've been all over the place as far as musical styles go. There was like a trend for like years when like bands would do like the one-man project, and they'd make like that funny like death. Do you remember like the era of like the one-man deathcore bands on MySpace that would have like this crazy t-shirt design, but they would have just like programmed drums and just like super terrible riffs, but it was like wannabe death metal with just like a breakdown? I did that. Like it was like, I don't know. I've just always messed around with as much as I can mess with. So like I learned how to sing through pop punk. I learned how to play heavy through metalcore and hardcore, and I got better at playing metal by playing with metal bands. So like I've never really closed the door on a musical opportunity, because every time I step into a new genre, I kind of get introduced to a new world that shows me a different way that music can connect with me and connect with other people. Because, you know, you're not going to feel the same way you feel about listening to a Down to Nothing record that you are going to feel about, say, a Led Zeppelin record. Like they're going to emit 2 different emotions, and why limit yourself to either one of those when they can both exist at the same time, you know? So like that's always how I've been. So VINTERGRAV is kind of like, it has a style, it has an identity, but that's why I wrote this record. That's why the singles are very different than what I put out previously. My first 2 records were instrumentals. Then my next record was a single with a bunch of features. And then I have this where I'm kind of stepping into a baritone, and I feel more comfortable with the baritone and just a darker element with my music. And it finally feels like I've found what I'm trying to do with this project. So it's like a culmination of all of those interests that I just explained, kind of packed into one, which is surprisingly acoustic guitar, not a full band. You know, like somebody says I'm into all this stuff, you expect them to be in a full band, then it's like super crazy and experimental. But like there are little nuances to my influences that make their way into VINTERGRAV across all those different genres, because I've exposed myself to so many different types of music and just embraced it, because I've learned a lot of things from listening to scores, and I've learned a lot of things listening to pop punk bands and hardcore and thrash and death metal and black metal. Like you can get a piece of musical knowledge out of all of those genres. So I've just been in tons of bands, man, and no shame. I love it. I've all kinds of fun memories just because of all the different people I met and the different genres I got to play in. And like I feel like I've seen a lot of the world in terms of people and lifestyles just because I exposed myself to so many different genres at such a young age, that like going to a trade school, being exposed to a bunch of different cultures is the same way as I expose myself to a bunch of different cultures, playing and listening to different music. Like, I don't know. I'm a melting pot for information. I just love taking in as much information as I can, be it musically or knowledge itself. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, man. I you know, as I do with any band I would interview, if I'm not already familiar with the music, you know, I make a point to listen to it, of course, you know. So, you know, I did that with your catalog. And yeah, it was the first thing that struck me is I was like, okay, this started, like you said, instrumental. And then seems like in the second release, you have the vocals that are, I guess you would say, more of a like a tenor, or it's like a high, like a not a high, like a
It's a mid-range high vocal. So
Yeah.
I already know I'm going to look back at that record and be like, I did try to sing like that. Like, this is like the future of VINTERGRAV really is a baritone voice. So like, I'm not embarrassed of the record because I did make a lot of really, really cool friends, and I do love the record still. But when I listen to it now, in comparison to what I'm doing now, like, I wrote that record 3-4 years ago. I'm a way different person than I was 3-4 years ago. So hearing this record versus that record, I'm like, that's going to be a cool timepiece to look back and be like, I remember when I wanted to do that with that record. And then I'm going to look at this record and be like, I'm happy that I chose a new direction because it took me into a way different world that I can explore for a very long time. I'm very excited.
For sure. So I guess would it be fair to say like the baritone voice feels more natural to you?
Yeah, I've been told with the high voice, a lot of people said that it sounded natural to me, but if I'm being completely honest, there were a lot of moments where like it was natural in control, but it never felt fluid the way that I felt like my voice was supposed to feel, and like I could do it, I commit to it. But it's almost like listening to a singer, in my opinion, where like for me, it always felt like I was either a little flat or sharp. Even though I wasn't, it always felt like that because I could feel the shakiness in my voice. And maybe I only heard that and nobody else heard it, but I felt it, so it didn't feel normal. And it was when I started playing around with an all noir that I really tapped into that like register, and I was like, oh crap, I like how this sounds. Like, I want to take this to VINTERGRAV. Like, I want to bring this element, and I'm thankful for Jesse for showing, because like Jesse's the one who helped me coach and like get to that voice. I wouldn't be here without that. So like it was it's because of him I was able to find that, and when I did, it was like a light went off. Like, I wrote a record in 3 months. It was just like, I have so many ideas, and I still have so many things that I haven't released now because I have so many ideas, because it like everything felt natural. Then the possibilities of what I could do became evident, and it was like, oh dude, I have like the next record's going to be fun because like I already know which direction I'm going. Like, I know what it's supposed to sound like in my head, now I just have to transpose it. But like yeah, it was it just feels natural. The vibrato feels normal, it feels natural, whereas if I tried to vibrato in my tenor, it felt very like fixated, and it was just hard to push through. Whereas like this feels like I could talk like that perpetually and it would just feel normal. So like I have found a very like a solid spot in the baritone, and as a joke, my voice will last longer at that range too.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? Sisters is still doing it, because I mean, like, who's gonna sing that low? You know what I mean?
The other thing just in listening to the VINTERGRAV material, you have a lot of cool layering and harmonies. When you're writing this stuff, I was just curious as to, are you have you studied music theory to where you would think of like, oh, I want to harmonize this, I'm going to harmonize it in thirds, or what's your process in writing a song, and how do you put things together?
I have a cool answer to that, and it's super corny. So I was a big Simon and Garfunkel fan when I was younger, I don't know much of the discography anymore, but my grandmother was super into them, so I got to hear them a lot. So I got exposed to harmony vocals by my grandmother, but Simon and Garfunkel and like the Beatles, like they did all that crap live. Like they hit those harmonies live. Do you know how hard that is to do that in pitch with 4 other guys or 3 other guys? Like that's hard. Like you can hate on the Beatles all you want. I don't care who you are, but do that crap. We have auto-tune and all that. Do that live. Do that in a take. I want to see it. Don't worry. I'll wait. Anyways, Simon and Garfunkel, but Good Charlotte is actually the name I want to mention. The harmonies come from my obsession with how Benji and Joel like harmonized. And it was just, their voice just felt so, because they're brothers, right? Like, of course it's going to sound fluid. Like they're the same blood. But like when I heard their harmonies together, I was like, oh my God, they're not doing what Simon and Garfunkel did. Like they're doing it their way. Like this isn't what you're supposed to do. Like this sounds cool. Now I know that you can go in and out of different registers and like go higher with somebody going like, dude, Good Charlotte like unlocked it. And it's so funny because like my daughter's like obsessed with Good Charlotte now because I listen to it so much. So like now whenever like we're in the car, she's like, Good Charlotte, Good Charlotte. I'm just like, you're gonna make me hate one of my favorite bands. Please stop requesting them. So like it is truly them. But how I approach the music, I have no formal experience in theory. I know theory is important, so I'm not going to like badmouth it. I try to practice it in theory because like you know what sounds good and you know what doesn't sound good. At least I feel like I do. There are areas that I'm willing to cross that would break theoretical rules. So I just try things and record, and then if I'm like, okay, this isn't breaking any like audio tisms for me, like this sounds good, I like this feels like it works, I don't care the theoretical, because once theory is important, but once you start putting yourself in that theoretical box, where does innovation come from?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can create the math problem. Who's the person that made the different one?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a trailblazer, but also the box isn't the only thing. You know what I mean? So like I understand there's importance to theory, but outside of the box, other things can happen. And that's kind of how I approach it. So if you listen to a lot of my orchestrations, if I'm not working with a cellist, which I've commissioned in my previous records, I've worked with Ralph Weinroth Brown, who did like Muskox stuff, and I forget his other roster, but like also Christopher Brown from California, he does a lot of stuff with like Abigail Williams, he does in the past. So like I've worked with him as well, and he's done OC and the Jupiter and stuff like that. So like besides that, all the orchestrations are like me, and they're just kind of what I feel like the song should have. So like I don't go in with it. I'll literally record a song. It'll just be dry guitar, and then I'll go through the song and see, is this adding too much? Is this adding too little? Can this part use this? Ooh, I hear this little melody in my head when I hear this when I'm listening. Like I'll record a song, it'll be dry, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I can put that there. That would sound cool. And I'd try it, and I'd be like, nah, it's not that good. Delete. And then you just keep moving. You keep exploring different ideas because like like musicians are natural idea makers, right? So like we're constantly noodling in our head. We're constantly banging on shit. And it's just like, I humor every idea because transposition is much different than what's happening in your head. So I'm never going to know unless I try it. So that's kind of how I approach all my music, and that's how I approach this record. And it's funny, I put myself in a metaphorical box on purpose because I get a little carried away with orchestrations on my previous releases. I actually sat myself down and was like, simple this record. So if you want to go on the road with this record, you can do it without backtracks and people will still enjoy the song. And it's just, I want it to be an intimate, very much, I found who I am. I found out what the identity of this band is. I found out what I want it to be moving forward. That is Nocturne. That is my moniker as a stage name or whatever you want to call it. But like, this record is like essentially me. The whole record is written about a bunch of very personal details about my life. It's the first time I really put something on paper in the last like decade that has like emotional merit. So like, this is a very important record in terms of like how my life went, how it's going, where I'm at in life, where I plan to go. And it's just a very important record lyrically, since I'm not storytelling. Like these songs are about me. Like that's like point blank. Like this whole record is about me, barring the singles that were already released before this came out. But these are all, I have specific definitions and meanings. Now you can interpret them however you want, but like I felt like the record should have that dry, dark, lonesome feeling, because a lot of the lyrics are the dark pits of my mind. So like I don't feel like the record needed a lot of more orchestration, because it's like if I want this to feel as dark and melancholic as I want it to be portrayed, I got to make sure that the only highlight in this record really is the guitar and my voice, especially since I'm going to be losing people probably to this, or gaining fans, because I might upset people with changing my vocal style. You know, people might like me simply just because of that vocal style. Like I'm making a change there just by, you know, how I'm going about writing songs. Like I'm changing my register entirely, and like I'm okay with it. And I don't know. I just try things, man. And if it sounds good, it sounds good. I like it. I listen to it. I play it. I don't know. I kind of approach everything chaotically, because there are no blocks. There are no like walls for me to fall into. Like obviously you stay within the confines of what your supposed genre is. You try to, at least. But also, if something that belongs in deathcore would sound fun or cool in a song that doesn't have like that, you know what I mean? Like, and it transposes well and it sounds cool, guess it's going in the song, man. You know, I've taken, like, there's a running joke with my label. I wrote a song. It's the only song I've ever scrapped entirely, and we now make fun of me for it. Because, like, it was such a bat in the wrong direction that, like, he actively made a joke. He's like, oh, I didn't know we were a pop punk band now, Dom. I was like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, come back to me in, like, a week. So, like, it goes by for like a week or so, and then I'm listening to the demo, and because it was going to be the single that ended up being Ages Past, I think, actually, from like the previous singles before I started coming back into the light. And like I listened to it again, and I'm like, oh no, I wrote a pop punk song for VINTERGRAV. Like it never got released, but like he stopped it from happening. So thank Martin from House of Incantation from stopping me turning into a pop punk band out of nowhere by accident. So like now whenever I write something and like we're like spitballing and like batting heads together, because like he's kind of like he's like the quiet band member for me, Martin over at House, and we're always like chit-chatting ideas back together, how we want to like build the project together. And it's whenever I challenge his logic or his knowledge, because we have that like open communication, he'll be like, and we'll go on and on and on and on, like in a message, and I'm like, so what are we doing? Like, I'm not fighting you anymore, man. Like, it was really funny. So now he just like quotes that song, because he's like, you need to trust my judgment a little more sometimes. So I'm just like, you're right. Like, because I came back to that, so I still listen to it, and I'm just like, ooh, there's a song out there that belongs to VINTERGRAV. It's about the forest and nature, but it doesn't feel like it. That's all I'm saying. So like, it never got released, but it's so funny, and I love the joke lives. But like, yeah. I've swung and missed a few times, so if Martin wasn't there, there'd be some questionable music from me out there, I guarantee it, because I just got no shame writing fun things.
Well, yeah, we can sort of segue into, I did notice on social media that you were working with, it's called House of Incantation.
Yeah. What do you want to know, like who they are, what they're about? Like,
well, it's a record label, yeah.
Yeah, so House of Incantation was, as far as I know, a sister label to Eisenwald Records, which like houses like OC and stuff like that, and like Iwata and whatnot.
Okay.
But he was kind of like the right hand man for Eisenwald. Did a lot of the business with him, and House of Incantation is his label, you know, for like bands that he wants to sign that, you know, maybe didn't make the cut for Eisenwald or couldn't get a label or elsewhere, or like, you know, just general people that get turned down, that he's like, I like your music, I'd like to work with you. And the same thing happened. I actually started off with Nautermock Productions, and my first EP was released through Nautermock, and or Nature Mocked, however you pronounce it, I don't know. But I worked with him for a year, and then I needed to expand because I needed more distribution and I needed a consistent partner. And I'm close with OC because he was in Burial at the time, Sean. I asked him, I was like, hey, do you think, Eisenwald would be willing to work with me? She's like, well, you can shoot an email and do the thing. So I did the whole process. Obviously, I didn't make it to Eisenwald, but Martin did reach out to me and said, hey, I'm interested. Would you like to work with me on my side label? We can kind of build this into something together because I think, this can be something cool. So House of Incantation became kind of like my home base because like he did my first CDs for like my first record. He does a lot of my visuals. Like Martin really is like my guy for like stuff that I need done. So like I'm not very tech savvy. He is. I'm not very social media savvy. He is. He helps me with a lot of that stuff. And like, that's why I said like he's a silent band member because without him, without House of Incantation, I don't think my band would have been even reputable to the slightest degree because like he is my distributor. He is the guy who helps me kind of craft a vision because I'm not good with visual effects and drawing and art and all that stuff. He is. So he like kind of like in tandem became both my label and like my visionary at the same time. And because we both liked the music, we ended up working together on songs. I would send him demos and he would be like, you should try this, or I like this, cut this. Like it was very group effort. Like it's always been a group effort. The only time that a record didn't become like a group effort or a release didn't become a group effort was this one, because I kind of went into hiding a little bit. Martin was real busy and I was just, dealing with Burial, prep and all that and trying to write a record in the middle of all of that. He got a few production notes in for a handful of the songs, but largely this was like an isolation record. And you can tell just by how like sad the record is. I mean, essentially it's dark as hell, but like he's always been the guy. Even when I came out of the isolation, he's like, all right, well, here's what we can do. Here's what the art looks like. Here's where I think your vision's good. Here's where I think it can be improved. Like he's a very hands-on label a label owner. So like I enjoy that about him. I openly state this all the time that like even if I were to like be approached by a different label, it's like I'd be hard pressed to walk away from him. I've worked with him for like 5 or 6 years now, and like he understands my vision. He understands what I sound like. He knows what I want to do. He knows that I'm going to change course every now and then, and he supports what I'm going to do, and he always helps me find the direction I need to go. So like he is like in essence my home base and the dude I trust the most with teaching, well not teaching, but like showing me where this can go to help me pave the way so I can build tours and I can print more merch and I can let this become a more nationalized thing. But like I'm not in a rush either, and neither is he. So it's kind of like I get to have the pace of a family life, but also have a friend who understands that I still take this very seriously and I would like it to be something. I just don't want to put my own life at risk to do it. So like I'm in no rush. I love playing music regardless of what happens, but he knows that I want it at my pace. And his pace is the same. So it's just, he's always just been the guy I can turn to and be like, this is what I want. This is what I think I should do. And he'd be like, okay, 90% of that's good. Let's change this. I'm cool with it. And it's always been seamless, man. I've always worked with House. He's just been like one of my best buddies and never turned me down, never steered me wrong. He's always, even when I fight him, like this record, he fought me on the record. He's like, I don't know. You're making a pretty drastic switch. And I'm just like, I like the record. I'm not trying to please anybody in this. It's like, if I lose fans, I lose fans, man. But like, this record is important to me, and I think this is a good direction for me. So he's like, all right, man. All right. If you're confident, we'll do it. We'll do it. And then he comes back to me like a month later. He's like, these songs grew on me. I was like, I told you. I was like, the tenor is what everybody got used to. I was like, dang it. Like, listen to the baritone. He came back and finally signed off on the record. And he's like, okay, cool.
So with that in mind, with the vocal style shifting, if you do, I feel like I already know the answer to this. So the last song you did, you prefaced it by saying that your was it Cathedral of the Gods? Mm-hmm. That you were singing it in baritone. So having mentioned that, like, is that the plan going forward? Any pre-existing material? Would you sing it all in that register now, in the baritone register?
Yeah, I already kind of tested those waters. I played with Sidan. I have a buddy in Pittsburgh who books shows. He does Appalachian over Appalachian Skies Fest or whatever up there, and he booked a show for me at, I believe it was the Shred Shed. At the time, I was without an acoustic, and I only had my Gibson Les Paul, and I didn't know what to do at that show because he invited me to play that show, and I didn't have an acoustic at the time, so I was kind of crunching. So I used this Gibson Les Paul, and I remember outside with Jesse, because Jesse came to that show, and I was like, do you think I can pull this off? Like, is this, like, because he was the only one at the time that knew I was going to change my register just drastically. Like, the people that were there that knew me knew that I sang in tenor. So, like, there were a good chunk of people there, and they were like, what? So, like, I remember asking Jesse, sitting outside in his wife's car, like, out in the trunk, and I was just practicing. And I was like, is this gonna backfire on me? Like, is this a stupid idea? Like, I like this, but, like, is this a stupid idea? And he's like, oh, man, you like your music? I was like, I love it. And he's like, who fucking cares? Like, sorry, but, like, he's like,
You're fine, man.
He's like, who cares, man? He's like, all that matters is that you like it. Walk out there and do it. And I did it, and it was just like, I got a really positive response, because it was just like, oh shit, like I can do this. Like this, I can change this, and people are gonna be okay with it. And that was my kind of like my dry run at it. And I remember selling a good chunk of shirts and having a good night because of that. And it was just like, I played with a Les Paul plugged into an electric amp, and I'm an acoustic artist. Like, I played with I played a full set, all my old songs, all in baritone, and everybody ate that crap up. And I was like, cool, I like this. I was having, it was like, it reinvigorated this love that I have for the project already. I was like, oh my God, all these like bells are going off in my head. I was like, I have so many ideas and so many directional patterns now. Like, it became, was in control of my voice again. And it just felt like I had like this creative power over the band that I felt like I haven't had in a long time. That's kind of why I went MIA for a handful of years there, because it just felt like I was actually deeply scared that Forest Hymns was going to be like the end of the line for me, because it was like, I don't really know what to do beyond this. Like, I don't want to sing in tenor anymore, but I don't also, I'm a storyteller. I like being a storyteller. But the next record, I don't want to be a storytelling. But if I sing all these lyrics in a high tenor, they're going to think I sound sad. It's like, I want us to be dark, like grim, like brooding. It's like the tenor voice doesn't give that. So I just sat for years, and then a Null Noir started, and it was just like, Jesse coached me through my baritone, and it was like, it just, light went off, and it was just, I'm bringing VINTERGRAV back. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing now. Everything just clicked, man. And I remember reaching out to Martin, and he's like, don't do it. And I was like, I'm not listening to you scream, man. I did it anyways. And it was, so like, I do make decisions on my own in that regard. It's just funny. It was the first time I felt confident in one of the releases, where I was just like, I'm finally in the pocket, what it feels like. So it's just like, if you like the record, you like the record. If you don't like the record, that's cool, man. I listen to this record and it makes me happy, because it's just like, these are important lyrics. Like, they mean something to me, and I'll look back at this release and be like, I'm really glad I marked that down as a journal entry in the part of my life. Like, I will listen to that as a timepiece for myself, because that is a journal entry essentially. So like, I think that has connected me to this music so much more than my previous releases, because I've never really had that emotion up until now. And it's like cool to look at that record and like look at everybody else and say, I don't really care if you like this or not. Like, I like it, and it means something. So I don't know. So yeah.
No, I think that's really important. You know, I guess, you know, if you're a band like that reaches a certain level of connection to society, like Iron Maiden or something, right? Mm-hmm. Even that band, you know, they had a different singer. The older albums were sort of, you know, in a different style. They were still, you know, but I think what I'm getting at is like, it's important, and I think, you know, maybe for people that were already familiar with you, that might throw them off a bit. But the fact that this offering is more connected to you personally, like you feel more finding your voice. And then with the lyrics, I guess this is sort of wrapped into a question. So the impression I get is that with the previous album, the lyrics were more so like as you said, like storytelling, and like perhaps like taking inspiration from just like a folklore, right? And then now with this, I dig it, like the Drag Me to Hell, because I think it's really cool when you can write lyrics that are ambiguous, but then like we were talking about hardcore earlier. There's a time and place for lyrics that are like really on the nose, like hate breed or something. Take your life back, man. It's like, okay, some dude needs to hear that right now.
It's the time for me. Like, that was the first hate breed for me.
Some guy's gonna hear that. Well, I was like, it meant a lot to me when I used to listen to album a lot. But then, I dig it, like and having you explain it and break it down, because it's like, okay, well, it does stick with the aesthetic of the previous material, but like, there's, without you getting overly oversharing, it does have a meaning to you. It's not that you're imagining yourself as some other character. Like when you're singing, like that's kind of the impression I get.
So because I know that you were pretty cold coming into my discography. The first two releases, there's always been somewhat of a conceptual idea to each release. So like each record has a meaning to me. The EP, for perfect example, the photo of the record, like the cover, was taken by Sean of OC. And he actually sent that to me because it was a tree that he had taken a picture of. And he was like, I think this would be really cool for an album cover. I was like, oh man, I really, really like that. And then I sent it over to Nottermocked, and Nottermocked edited it up and made it an album cover. Now this one, Skugcat, I was super into folklore, and this is just a straight up instrumental record. This record was heavily folklore inspired, and there's a lot of stories that I tap into between like, theology and folklore or whatever. But the whole concept of that record, the last song on that record with what is it called again? Guided by Snowfall?
Set My Soul on Fire.
Okay, that was the one I did with OC and the Jupiter. The one above that, Guided by Snowfall. The record cover is actually a record I commissioned through a friend of mine. And that cat was drawn in there after the original sketch, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe the idea came with like a loose idea of what it would look like. But this whole record was devoted to a cat that I actually lost 7 years into its life. I was at work one day and it just had a renal heart failure. Perfectly healthy cat, just had a renal heart failure, and I couldn't do anything about it. And I'm a cat dad, so I've had my oldest is 14. I've had her since she was a preemie. So like, I'm an animal lover, and that record became a very intense representation emotionally for music that I felt about all of that and like where my life was at the time. So like, my records are genuinely snaps in time. I usually write my records in between 1 to 3 months and a short time spell of my life where you would go through what you would call a phase. So like, these are genuine snapshots in time. They don't get touched after they get written, and they either get scrapped or made for the record. This was inspiration towards him because his name was Spencer, and he looked like Freya's Norwegian cats or whatever. I can't remember that because it's been so long since somebody asked me about this record. But like, the cat itself is a representation of what my cat looked like. And the Guided by Snowfall, Raph, I actually commissioned him because it was a very important song for me, and he's like masterclass, like orchestral genius kind of level, like cellist. And I shelled out the money for him. And I told him how important that specific song was, because if you listen to Guided by Snowfall at the end of the song, when I was recording that record, Spencer had this aptitude to just like meow in the middle of all my sessions all the time. If I was recording, ow. Every single time, man. It was so hard to record music with that little butthole in the freaking house, man. So like, anytime I get a take, you just catch a piece of it, and you're like, you fucking bastard. Like, how did you get it in there, man? I didn't hear it. Like, I have the headphones. I should be able to hear it. So you listen back to a take, and you're like, you bastard. But at the end of Guided by Snowfall, there was a take that I never erased in the middle of like him passing away. So when I revisited the record for mixing and mastering, I heard his voice at the end of the song. And like, obviously I got emotional over it, but I explained to Raph at the time, I was just like, hey man, this is a super important song. I want you to also think about the theory and all this behind it. And like that, Guided by Snowfall, man, because of Raph, it's like one of the most beautiful songs just because like I know what the song means to me and what the record itself means to me. So like it is a very peaceful listen. It's the music I would listen to if I'm walking through the forest in a winterscape and just enjoying a nice, quiet, snow-ridden hike. Like that's how I view that record. That's why it's an icy looking record. But then you move on to Forest Hymns, and it was when I started doing session work for OC live that I realized, oh, I want to take this project on the road. And I'm not going to be able to take this project on the road if I'm only playing instrumentals. So I had to find out a way to incorporate both my instrumental work and my singing songs within the music and still make them feel fluid and not forced. So Martin was a big help on that one. That record came together because he helped me work with a lot of really talented artists who got to feature on that, and a lot of reputable artists that are across like the German and like European sphere of like folk artists and stuff. So it got a lot of traction, a lot of attention. It ended up putting me on a festival, Cascadian Midsummer, out in Seattle, or like out in Washington, and then I did a couple of tours with it, and I was like, oh man, like Forest Hymns was fun. The record sold, like people liked it because they heard my tenor. So like I became known for that, and it was just, people typically know me for Forest Hymns, where all of these songs, they're either about folklore that I was interested by, or books that I read and rewriting the story in a lyrical form from a third person point of view. So like Forest Hymns is riddled with a bunch of stuff written about books I've written. I love Neil Gaiman. So like a lot of my songs are written envisioned by his books, you know, like Neverwhere, American Gods. So, and City of Thieves, I believe I wrote a song about City of Thieves. But either way, like I like reading books. I'm a nerd. So like I didn't have any drama or any problems like that I was aware of in my life. I didn't have things I was trying to reflect on, maybe because I was like hiding from it or something, whatever. But like I didn't feel like writing a record that didn't reflect any of my real emotions. So storytelling became an affinity for me, where it was like, I can write songs, and because I'm a Maiden fan. That's literally what Bruce Dickinson does. He writes his stuff about fanatical ideas and war, like from a third person point of view. And I'm like, you can do it. It can happen. But the one thing I will say, as much as I love Maiden, how many Maiden songs can you actually align yourself with emotionally or mentally? He storytells a lot. How are you going to relate to that unless you're a war vet or you're flying? You know, like there's a lot of limitation to that. So as much as I love the storytelling, you know, that's one thing Jesse bashed in my head, is just, how are people going to connect with you if they don't even connect with you on the thing you're talking about? And it just really did push me into this world of like, dude, I really got to tap in. You know, I'm a pretty easygoing guy and calm about everything, but I had to like tap into a darkness for Nocturne, because it was like, I remember actually having a text conversation with him and just saying like, should I really do this? He's like, if you're going to write about something, and I agree with him, because I used to when I was in like hardcore and punk, but it's been so long since I've had to do it, and I'm an adult, so I don't have teenage problems or hardcore kid problems anymore. You know what I mean? Like I'm not worried about girls or how my friends make me feel. Like if you're not a peaceful part of my life, you're just not going to be a part of my life, and I'll just move on like an adult. You know what I mean? So like I don't have any like dramatic upheaval in my life, and I had to like tap into like inner things, stuff that you would, you know, talk to a therapist about. But like the record is written about a lot of personal family and like personal growth matters. So like that took a lot out of me for that 3 months prepping for tour. Like, you know what I mean? Like we were doing that, like prepping for tour, and then I was also writing that record in tandem. So I'm in this dark zone, but then also working towards an exciting adventure that I was getting ready to jump into. It was a very chaotic time in my life. I'm very happy I wrote the record. I just look at it now from an extreme realization, like how much duress my brain was actually under when I was writing that record, like mentally and emotionally. So like the lyrics are pretty cool, man. If you interpret them however you want to interpret them, that's fine. But if somebody asks me like the meaning of all songs, I'll sit down and tell them. But like interpretation's cool. They sound like they can be interpreted a bunch of different ways. So let them.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. You know, like it's for. Anyway, well, let's just say it's important to me.
Yeah.
I appreciate lyrics like that. You know, but everything in moderation or you know, I mean, like there's, like I said, there's a time where you want to hear some stuff really on the nose or when you want to hear something that's just completely like goofy, like the Humpty Dance or something. Like, it's like, okay. So, yeah, one thing I was curious to ask you, man, like, you know, some of this music, it almost sounds like it could be on like Game of Thrones or something. Did you ever try like consider or like have anybody else suggest to you like, hey, you know, try to get placements for your music?
So Sean from Hosting the Jupiter can actually back me up on this one. When I started this project, that was the intent. That's why I was working with Nottermocked for connection to distribution and to like scores and video games and stuff. So the first two records, the EP and Skugcat, the anticipation was that we were going to market those as that. Because again, I'm not saying that ironically, like I genuinely listen to composers all the time for fun. If I like a movie, I'll go and find that score. I won't listen to the soundtrack. Don't care about the soundtrack. I listen to the score because like they're so immersive, right? Like I know Jeremy Soule has a lot of like flack right now because apparently he did some questionable. I don't know what happened, but like the Skyrim guy, Oblivion. So like his whole interpretation of like compositions is just like immersive, right? You know, that's why we love atmospheric black metal. When you get immersed in a song where it takes you from the realm of reality, like that is a power, man. That is a real metaphysical power that music is doing to you. So like I get that from composers. So like I listen to Alexander Desplat, obviously John Williams, everything that was composed within the John Wick soundtracks, believe it or not. Like those were like really cool. I love the National Treasure scores. Like those are super cool because they're hyper and uplifting. And then like Lord of the Rings score, obviously you have Howard Shore. And then you just go like Interstellar with what's his face? The dude who did Interstellar. Why am I drawing a blank for the most important composer of our time?
Would that be John Williams?
No, that's Harry Potter and like Star Wars and stuff.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not the best person to ask on these things.
But anyways, where I'm going
on that topic, yeah.
where I'm going with this is that like music is an auditory journey for me. Like, so it's important for me because this is the first time the music is not just an auditory journey; it's a lyrical investment. Because I'm like, this is bone dry Dom here. You know what I mean? Like this is like real. Like you're gonna hear these songs and you'll be like, damn, you know, like darkness. You know, there's dark stuff in the record because it's just like, I felt like if I'm going to be this old and talking about things, that I better speak with conviction, you know? If I want somebody to like me, I want them to like me for who I am, not something I'm trying to like put off to tell a story through a book or some other adventure that somebody else, like I want people to come up to me. Like I remember when I was playing in pop punk, my old band, We Were Kids, one of the last releases I did with them was a song called Perseverance. You can find it on Apple and Spotify and all that stuff. I'm still very proud of that song because I remember one of my buddies, Tim, came up to me after I released that and he like messaged me and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know I just got this message. And it was like a screenshot of this dude or he sent me the copy and paste of what this dude said, but basically it was the whole theory of the song is that life sucks. It's constantly moving. It never stops. I have subconscious doubt towards myself on a perpetual state, but I keep pushing because I know that life is not meaningless. So like, it is a genuine contract to myself saying, no matter what, don't quit. Don't quit at whatever you're doing, because like, you're not meaningless, and everybody has their own significance. And like, that was a very important song to me. Unfortunately, the band split due to like financial reasons, like way when we were younger. But like, I remember he messaged me and it was just this dude saying like, and it could just be like BS for all I know, but if it did have that positive of an impact, like I still talk about it this day. It was like 15 years. This guy told me he didn't kill himself because he heard my song, and he was just like, I was like, this was the day. This was the day that it was going to happen. And he's like, I heard these lyrics and I felt like somebody finally heard me. And I'm like, oh, that's a heavy burden to carry. But you're also like, that's cool that my song that nobody knows anymore did that for another dude that could have been going through life like me when I was younger, and I stopped it. And even if I didn't, okay, like, you know, like somebody said, I chose life because I heard your music. That's cool. You know, and like being able to convey that again from a mental standpoint for my music feels very liberating, because it's been so long since I've done it that like this record feels like like if somebody wanted to go on a talk back and forth match with me about this record, I wouldn't relent, because like this is my diary, man. Like you're seeing me in this record. You're not seeing folklore Dom. You're not seeing storyteller Dom. Like the re-recordings, those are storytellings, but like the rest of the record, that's Dom, man. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. That's what I feel. It's what I finally put it all to paper. So when I look back on that record 10 years from now, if I'm a nobody, I'll be like, good for you, man. Like you did it. Like you did that. Like you finally did like the thing that you've been not doing your whole life. You finally did it after stopping when you were like 21, you know, playing pop punk and hardcore. So like, that's the one thing I've always appreciated about hardcore too. Like I'm working with guys right now, and we're going to start a for fun hardcore project. You know, there's no pressure to it, but it's just like, I really miss the energy of hardcore shows. I really miss the energy of the lyricism behind hardcore, because, you know, I was straight edge at one point. And the one thing I always loved about that mentality was that no matter how angry a hardcore kid was, there was still love in their heart. Like their lyrics said, I'm mad, but I'm still going to be a good person. And like, that's like the coolest flex you can have as a human being, is like, instead of projecting, I'm going to choose positivity, man. And like, a lot of people give crap to that kind of thinking, but it's like, don't we have enough anger, negativity, and hatred in the world? Like, it's cool to see your hostility and your aggressions turned into a positive environment. So like, I don't know, hardcore is going to be fun. I'll tool around with that. But that's the one thing about hardcore I've always loved about, is just the lyricism. It's just like, it's the one genre where I'm like, damn, I'm going to listen to the lyrics. Like, I believe this stuff. Like, I remember 1991 by Life Ruiner. It was about a guy unaliving himself, and it was just like, the year he was born was the name of the song, if I'm not mistaken. But it was just a song essentially talking about the world was better with you. You should have stayed. You know what I mean? And it's just like, here we're playing breakdowns, and it sounds angry, but it's like and that's why I love Kill Switch Engage. You know, life sucks. Let's find a better way to think about it. You know what I mean? Like Howard was that way. Jesse Leach is that way. And it's just like, that's an inspiring viewpoint, because there's plenty of negativity around us, man, at all times. You can always find it. It's never short. But it's hard as hell to find positive people. It's hard as hell to find composed positive people and composed positive thoughtful minds, because we're living in an increasingly harder world to like manage. So there's just really no point to latch on the ladder. You know what I mean? Like you're just drinking poison. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's you know, in how you manifest it. If it's cathartic for you, then that could be a good thing. But yeah, it's definitely not healthy to be negative all the time, and you're gonna push a lot of people away from you. So I wanted to, we can start to wind down a bit, but before we wrap up, definitely wanted to be sure that we discuss. You have some a short tour.
Yeah.
That's coming up. In coinciding with the rollout of this album.
Yeah.
So if you could just speak on that for a minute, and then with and anything else that ties into the album release, such as when the full album will drop, merchandise, any let's let the people know.
Yeah, so the record will be released August 28th. It'll be right after I return back from that run. Anybody who will see us at those shows will have access to the record in multiple formats. That's really all I can say in terms of specific merchandise. But this will be this small little run will be like early access, and I'm hitting a lot of like original regional areas that I've just been touring at for a long time. I have close friends with, it's for me, this run is more about just maintaining a community of friends that I've religiously seen throughout the years being on the road, and making sure I'm playing to the people that like have habitually seen me over time, so it doesn't feel so awkward to be like, hey, this is my album release tour, like I'm a small guy in the middle of nowhere. So like I would at least like to do it with friends, that's why I'm doing the show No Class August 19th. There's a CD release show with some of my best friends who making cookies and runs a record label, and then
Hold on one sec. Yeah, shout out to Eric. How do you say his last name?
Eric and Elizabeth Aites, but call her Liz. She'll kill me if I said Elizabeth.
Eric and Liz Aites. So Below Productions.
And As Above, So Below Bakery.
Yep. Making. Are you putting a cassette out for the release with Eric? Possibly.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Fun stuff in the future. We'll get to that. But there are multiple avenues for merchandise coming for this tour. So if you are somebody that is like watches this video and that you want to hear the new record and you don't want to wait until the 28th, you will have access to that record before everybody else on this run. So that means if you come to the Cleveland show, congrats, you can come buy the record. I'll have it on hand.
Smart.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just I'm hitting Cleveland. I'm gonna have a day off just because I did have Pittsburgh lined up, but the show fell through and the promoter, had to leave out of town. So I just let that date die, and I'm just gonna take the long drive the day after Cleveland, so that way we can wake up and have a pretty chill drive into Rhode Island. I believe we're starting, and I'm working with one of my, Ironclad just made a steel dude that just always comes through for me, Jim Burden out in the New England area. He runs Abaddon Booking, and I've always just been able to turn to him and like, hey man, I need a handful of shows in your area, and just gets it done. He's just cool, man, and he's just good people. He likes a lot of the same music as me. He's really close. Well, as far as I understand, he's good with Mike D'Antonio from Killswitch Engage, because like he's from the Boston area, so like those guys never really left home. Like all those guys, I'm pretty sure live in Massachusetts or still nearby, if I'm not mistaken. Like I think Jesse from Killswitch lives in Vermont or something like that. I don't know, but like they're all in that same little area. But he always has like the same run of bands come and play with me, so I'll get to play with familiar faces, I'll get to play with familiar bands, bring in new fans and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see it. Like this run really is just kind of like a little vacation run to go see all my other home networks with a bunch of friends. So like I want other people to come, but I know that the likelihood, might not be as high. But like I'm excited to get out there and see all my old friends and just get my face moving on flyers again and get like the visibility out there again. You know, I plan on putting together another run. There's another guy I'm working with who wants to put on another tour, and I'm probably just gonna see like week 2 runs here and there, but like regional areas and hitting south, hitting Midwest, all that stuff. But like this is just the first one. It feels like the right thing to do to hit all of our major markets before I go trying to take it somewhere else with the CD release show that nobody knows who I am. You know what I mean? So like these are like all my home bases. So it's for me it's just gonna be cool to get out there and hang out with a bunch of old friends from across all the states or whatever. But other than that, like I'll have a new shirt, a CD, I'll have other things, and I'll have leftover merch from my previous runs from like Forest Hymns. There's limited sizes for that. I'll still have patches. The guy who did cassettes for Skogecat, I'm still waiting for him in the mail, but he has leftover stock. He dissolved his label, and he's like, hey, you want these? So I have like 7 or 8 extra tapes from the old releases that I'll have access to, and going to be working with Tomahawk Prints, which is Scott from Cloak. He's printing the shirts, so they're going to come out real sick. You saw the design. I have it posted online or whatever, but like I'm excited for that. I don't know, man. I'm just pumped. It's been so long since I've hit the ground with VINTERGRAV. It's cool to be like, okay, it's still alive. Like, we're going to go out there and do this. It's going to be fun to play these tunes. So, like, I'm not trying to get, like, rich and famous. Like, I genuinely just like playing this music. It's fun. And the people and the things and places I've seen, just, it's a cool experience, man. I mean, it's fun because it's easy to handle, you know, just one guy, you know?
August 19th. That falls on it's a weekday, right?
Yeah, it's a Wednesday if I'm not mistaken. It'll be a bar show. Emma is my homie and has always kind of been where I want to start my runs and tours. So I've just always reached out to her, and she's always been reliable, and No Class has been like kind of like my silent who's been playing bass for like as long as I can remember. I don't know. It was like between this and the Foundry as long as I've been growing up. I mean, I guess if you count Peabody's when you were like teenagers, but like doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah, Emma's awesome. Yeah, I think there's a good chance I can be at that show. So yeah, but yeah, Cleveland Volks, 8/19 at No Class, VINTERGRAV, and then check the socials for the other dates. You know, we'll definitely have to do like a follow-up interview down the road.
Absolutely.
When the timing feels right. But yeah, like, thank you so much for being here, man. The first time, like I was saying earlier, first time to have some live performance happen as part of this show. Killed it, man.
Appreciate it.
And you know, is there anything just sort of in closing that you would want to say to wrap up the interview and just you know, mark this moment in time that we have?
If you come to the Cleveland show, I was gonna make a bring me a joint joke, but like it's just like whatever, dude.
It'd be cooler if you did.
It'd be cooler if you brought me a joint. Just get me really stoned before I get on stage, and we can see how well I can play. That'll be fun, right? No, don't do that. But no, yeah, come hang out in Cleveland because it's gonna be fun. I'm mostly, honestly, I booked the Cleveland show. One is a starting point for the tour, but honestly, I'm very, very close with Eric and Liz. Like they're my family. Like I see them weekly. Like that we are together all the time, and like I genuinely love like supporting the people I'm close to and friends. So like I want you guys to come so you can see how cool, you know, Eric's label is, but also because Liz is a queen in the kitchen when it comes to baking snack and sugary goodies. So like come enjoy some cookies, listen to some folk punk, and get drunk and get stoned at No Class on a Wednesday, dude. I don't know, come have fun. It's gonna be fun.
Excellent, man. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna correct you real quick, just because you said folk punk. So
I'm playing with folk punk bands. I have to say.
Oh, my bad.
No. I'm not folk punk. I have to say it because I am playing folk. Like, I built a connection with a handful of folk punk bands around the area because there's really not a scene for folk.
Who are these bands?
Six City and the Pretty Awful. Pretty Awful is actually a full band, but he does exclusive like acoustic sets. So I requested he did an acoustic set this time around since we're doing a bar show, and he was like, hell yeah, dude, let's do this. So I'm friends with everybody, I guess I'm playing show with. So like it's just gonna be a giant hang where everybody can just kind of hang out, have fun, eat cookies, and listen to live tunes, man. It's not gonna be too audio jarring because nobody's gonna be playing real instruments outside of an acoustic or a banjo. So it should just be a yap and trap and have fun and do whatever, man. I don't know. Eat cookies and listen to tunes, dude. It's gonna be a blast. I can't wait.
Excellent, man. Well, yeah, like I said, thank you for being here, brother. Looking forward to hearing the full album when it's released. And we'll go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Thank you to everyone that listens to this show. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Cheers, brother.
We did it.